right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? Peter Cimetti here. And I can't believe it's been like 8, 9 months since the last feedback forum. So a lot has happened, right? So that's summer 2021. But this is the first feedback forum of the year. So I'm hoping it's going to be a good one. We'll see. We'll see. You guys make it a good one or not. I don't think we ever had a bad one. But the whole point of this show, so I just want to do a quick rundown. The whole point of this show, since it's been so long, it's essentially like an open mic show. You guys can join the show if you need feedback, critique, advice on writing, art. Think of it as like a portfolio review, but for pretty much anything comic related. So if you need tips or advice on your art, on your writing, on your storytelling, on your crowdfunder, things like that. Now, I don't claim to be an expert. So I just want to let you guys know that I'm just giving you my advice based on my experiences, based on my best judgment. Make that of it what you will. So if you guys do need a separate set of eyes, I know sometimes it's really difficult to get an honest opinion, honest feedback. You're out there, you're putting it on Twitter, you're putting it on wherever you put your stuff, and maybe you just get either absolute just praise or maybe you get not nice things said about your stuff. I'm not going to mince words necessarily, but I'm not going to be mean. Definitely not. Everything is said with encouragement. But I'm going to be honest with you. And if I like it, I like it. I'm going to say why. If I don't, I'm going to let you know why. If you need improvement in some areas, I'm going to let you know that as well. And it's not to say that I am not without need of improvement myself. That's the biggest reason why I'm always striving more and more and more to have these kinds of conversations, because I learn from them too. So without further ado, let's get started. This is going to be about an hour-long show. Let's just say hi to the chat first. So we got Statistical Zero here. It says, give me a bit, and I think I have some stuff that the chat might find interesting to pick apart. Okay. All right. Now I'll give you a minute. Let's put on a little bit of music here while we wait for Statistical Zero. All right. I want to make sure people understand it's a feedback forum show, so I'm going to put a little banner at the bottom here. It's been a while. Can you believe it? You're just joining right now. So the feedback forum is very similar to Open Mic Wednesday. It's a show in the same vein in terms of you can just join the show if you want. You don't need to have a special invite or anything like that. But we got Abominable Grizzly here. What's up, Abominable? We got Revan Saber as well. Abominable says, gotta remember, I am the armadillo. My height is strong. I am the armadillo. My height is strong. Let's do this. Yeah, you need a thick skin for this. And it's not because there's going to be any meanness associated. Rejection, criticism, that kind of stuff, feedback on this level is difficult for people to do privately, let alone publicly. So please be unbelievably respectful to all who come on this show with your feedback and criticism as well in the chat, which you guys are free to do too. Anthony Gambino, what's up? Hope you're doing well. We got Sheldon Martin here too. Eric Housel in the chat. Also, Aloise. What's up, Aloise? Sierra Volazavia says, hey, Pete, and or chat. I guess you say both. Both is fine. Shane O'Sullivan. What's up, Shane? We got the Sorcerer here. Gerald Lang in the house. He says, hi, Pete and gang, working and listening. Hope you're doing well, Gerald. Let's see. We got Anthony says, Pete, as far as artwork, do you only look at narrative art for this show? Can it be it could be any kind of art. Any kind of art that you would like some feedback on. If you're struggling with a piece or anything like that, or if you just want to show something off, you feel free to stop in. Doesn't have to be sequentials or comic book type art. It's usually more focused towards comic books and things like that, but please feel free if you got something to show off. Do so. Sheldon Martin says, I'm the walrus. Cuckoo. All right. Robert Livingston says, hey there, everyone. Just checking things out. All right. So I think we got enough time for Statistical Zero to get ready. Here we go without further ado.
Oh, Lord, to be first. How's it going?
How are you? What have you got for us today?
So I was digging through my old files. I found some artwork from about 3 years ago. Now, after, 3 years of experience, art's changed a little bit. But I thought it'd be kind of an interesting thing to bring it up for you. Have you, take a look at it. See
Would
what
you
think
say
of
it's changed for better or for worse?
it. Just different. I don't know if
Okay.
I'd say for better or for worse. This is definitely a little bit more. I think now my stuff is a little bit it's faster, more broken lines, a little bit
Okay.
more exaggerated characters and stuff like this. It seems a little stiff to me, but should be interesting to take a look at.
All right.
All right, let me get that share screen going.
Okie dokie. Yeah, I'm interested
Okay.
to see what you've got. I know I've seen a bunch of your stuff on Twitter.
Oh, almost every day, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you're always getting stuff out there. All right, let's see what it is.
All right. Okay, so these are just raw scans of something I did. I about 15 years ago I did for practice like a 96-page book. And I went and I redrew a lot of it. These were about 3 or 4 years ago or something like that. I did like 10, 15 pages kind of to see where, I was shaking it out since it was all practice anyways.
How long did you say these were ago?
The original ones were about 15 years ago. These about 3 years.
That's what I thought you said. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
These are about 3 years.
So what are you looking for a critique on? Because if this is about 3 years old, I think it's gonna be an unfair critique.
Well, it shouldn't be, because I mean, in terms of like face and stuff like that, not a lot of that's changed. But I'm kind of wondering what you're thinking of this. Just
Okay, well, whenever I see a page of sequential, I always want to know what is the scene that you're trying to set up. So what is the story trying to be told here?
So in this situation, the whole thing that the story dealt with was writers kind of they're in their world. Sometimes you'll be sitting there, you'll just kind of live in your world and interact with stuff like that and just watch it play out like a movie. Well, in this situation, in this particular story, the writer, which has been a guy that's been with his character for a long, long time, is getting old. He's looking to retire and pass it on to his grandson. Start writing the character and kind of interacting with that character, because the character, if the writer's not so good, the character's not going to do great at what he's doing. So
okay, so visually, can you start at the top for a second?
Yeah.
Visually, it looks like the kid is like, tell me a story, and the guy's like, okay, I'll tell you a story, and then the story happens. It's like a flashback. It looks like to me, if I had to guess, and then it just details a fight that occurred. Is that kind of close to what the scene is here?
Well, there was a setup, and he won like a contest sort of thing. Like the little kid won a contest for like a bigger corporation sort of thing. And this is kind of your bigger writer on a stage at a panel.
Okay.
Was like, and he's kind of like telling everybody about, and this, his grandpa couldn't be there because his grandpa was working on a book at the time. So then it cuts to what's going on here.
So I'm guessing that there's a lot of room there in the panels up top because there's going to be a lot of dialogue. So he's going to be, there's going to be a question, and then he's going to be explaining things.
Yep.
Okay. Is how much dialogue and things like that are left for the rest of the panels?
The rest of these panels, the bottom two here didn't have too much. There was like a bubble, I think, for the third one from the bottom here, right there, right about there.
The
couple captions here.
You mean
here
on panel 4?
Yeah, or no, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
There's some dialogue there, and then
all right, yeah, because
captions.
I mean, it's difficult to judge this because of the fact that I'm not getting context from the pages before or after.
Okay.
Are you looking for anything in particular in terms of the art, in terms of I can't comment on the writing because there's no writing to comment.
Of course. I'm just thinking like,
or compositionally or anything like that.
Yeah, barring the first two, what you're getting from like the story flow and if you can kind of tell what's going on without words. In this respect, I suppose, because I got a few pages here that'll link up. Go to the next.
Yeah,
one.
I mean, well, in the action sequence, it's neither character. It looks like is actually in the top, so
right.
It does look like it's a third party here, and it's detailing something in terms of, like I said, either a flashback or a story or something that's occurred. Now, who's that guy? Is that the same writer from the previous panel?
That's the grandfather.
Okay.
So he just threw a brick. That thing turned around, looked kind of confused, and then got angry.
Yeah, visually, I'm a little lost in terms of the way the story goes. So can you go back to the previous page and go up top to the grandfather, or no? Who's the person talking? Because it's not the same guy, right? The same guy on the top right. That's not the same guy as the.
Yeah, well, he would have had a speech going on, I think, if I remember right, back in the day, and then it would kind of caption through some of this stuff as it's going, and then he'd have his own little bubble right down in the.
Because what's he talking about?
Oh, he's talking about the importance of new characters and things like that, and moving forward with the company at this point. And
so he's talking about a new character, but the character being shown and the scene being shown, I'm really having a tough time here understanding how he's showcasing the new character, because it just looks like someone just in regular clothes is kind of beating up this giant monster that has like these hands coming out of his stomach. So I'm guessing someone got sucked into the stomach or something like that.
No, it was just a design for the creature. Just he's got these two little hands that can grab things.
Oh, okay. So he's got like a Quado.
Yeah.
And then the older guy on the bottom left is then throwing a brick at the monster character. So that's the thing I'm worried about, is that I don't know how this scene would detail exactly what that guy is talking about with like the new characters and things like that. Usually like a scene like that, if he's talking about the new characters that would need to be introduced or whatever, it would then be like a gallery scene. And it would be like, profile shots of the names, and then you would see the.
That's where I suppose the weakness to this particular, because this is, I want to say, this is like page 6, and you got to see a little bit of what the kids' stuff was before that. So he's like playing kind of make believe and stuff, and then he's got to go to this convention. Okay. And then this is the end scene for that, but mostly this whole thing is more about the fight scene and the flow of that. We got this.
Yeah, JW says a near tangent in the first panel. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You got that. Tap him on the back. He turns around. He says something to him, kind of like excuse me, you want to dance with the devil of the pale moonlight before he gets hit in the Batman movie 89.
And then he gives him an uppercut.
Gives him an uppercut. Yep. Flies up. Gives him a knock. Flying down. He's got some drip in there. Caught him. Asked for a couple hot dogs. He says, we don't do this for free. Gives him some money. And here's where the grandpa's sitting up there thinking about how he's getting too old for all this. They have their chat, character and writer at the same, together. He's talking about how things are different. A little bit more talking at the end of the scene.
So the older guy was like a superhero character too?
He was kind of like this is part of the reason I shelved it, because it's one of those things where you get really excited about, oh man, this writer, and he's interacting with his character and everything like that.
Let's see. Shane says, I suppose the image of the grandfather throwing the brick should be on the same page of the monster turning to react. Makes the visual narrative make more sense. Yeah, that's true as well. I think a lot of the narrative here, though, is getting lost with excess visuals that are kind of adding something to the story that I think is making it lose its train of focus. I think that if you go back a page or two. So no, one more. So the action sequence, you got a good action sequence here. There's a pretty good flow to it. The previous page, when he's doing the thing and then he taps him on the shoulder and stuff like that, it doesn't make a whole ton of sense, only because there's nothing to be shown as like an element of surprise. So if the grandfather had thrown a brick at this monster and he's doing his thing, and there's none of that lead up in the beginning that show that the two are fighting each other, the guy is still with that monster. So when the guy throws the brick, the guy is still with the monster. So
Right.
the older dude throws the brick. The two other guys, they're still together. So the monster and the other guy are together. The grandfather has this kind of confused expression, like now he's in for it.
Yep.
But the thing is that the monster's still entangled with the other guy, so it's not a surprise to the
Right.
monster if the other guy is still around him. You know, if now there wasn't any of that introduced, you would have that element of surprise. So if it's just the old guy up against this monster that he's, you know, in for it, and he's trying to do his best, but he really can't. And then all of a sudden you get the tap on the shoulder, and then this new guy comes in. Now it's an element of surprise for both the monster and the reader. So now there's a bit of a reveal, but before
Right.
getting into it, it kind of dishevels the whole setup, and then you lose the literal punchline here.
Right.
So when you go to the next page, so the scene here is well laid out. I don't know how much I might lose that last panel
Okay.
and focus more on the creature hitting the impact of wherever he's hitting. Go to the next, because now it looks like, because where he's coming down, but now he looks like he's coming up, and then like he's grabbing him from, so like the moment is kind of being lost, where it's all this different direction being shown. So the creature's coming down, but now he's coming up, but then he's also kind of down on the ground too, to do this whole scene here. I honestly, I don't really feel this scene adds a whole lot.
Sure.
I think it kind of detracts from the overall thing of what you're trying to do. I think you could have had the scene where the guy's taking the monster away, and you know he made a crater in the earth or whatever it is, and then the older guy comes along to kind of just, you know, be a little bit maybe depressed about the situation, that he couldn't really handle it. So, and then you can get this, because that moment of levity that you have, it's kind of like a forced moment. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You need that kind of relief, that relief in the drama to hit at the right moment of time too, because if
Right.
you break up the mood of the scene, it ends up feeling like, well, none of this really matters, you know. And that's the word, and those little moments take you right out of the story every single time you stop that progression. Let's see, Eric says, I like the action mixed with humor, and yeah, I like that, the tapping on the shoulder thing, you know, you can get the element of surprise a bit better. But you know, as far as telling the story goes, it's not too bad until you get like that moment with the whole hot dog thing.
Right.
You know, I think maybe, you know, after he's done whatever, because then also, what has he done with the villain? I have no idea.
Right.
You know, he's just kind of got the villain, and then that's it. Villain like disappears. He teleports into another place. So if you have something that shows the progression of time, where it's like, you know, 2 hours later or whatever, you know, that kind of a caption, you could have that. But it's like, well, why is the grandpa still on the roof?
Right.
2 hours later. So
Right. Which yeah, I was curious to see what your thoughts on, because I was looking through this stuff, and this is very much the reason why I shelved it from, you know, 15 years ago.
I like
as a
the
kid.
sentiment.
Right.
I don't think you need it seems like an odd setup to have the kid in the beginning with he's at a convention, and this, I think like that's a whole awkward setup. You don't need to have that setup
Right.
to
Well,
tell the
that's
story you
kind
want
of
to tell.
dovetailing off of like the page before it. Like I said, this is like page 6 through, I don't know, 7 pages in there, something like that. But yeah, I absolutely agree. I think this, when I was learning to tell a story and learning what to include and what not to include, it kind of came off as a little weird, back and forth, and schizophrenic at the time that I was doing it. Sort of like a cuts back to something else, back over
Yeah,
this
yeah.
again.
I
back to
dig
something
that
else.
page of the action sequence, especially. Like, I like that you got like the big moment here and then coming down. Like, that's perfect.
Right.
Whenever you have any kind of action sequence, that's how you want to do it. You don't want to catch him like in the middle, and then it doesn't look as powerful. You know, you want to get that flex going. Searville has obviously said, I'm
read
so
that.
thin-skinned that with this much criticism, I'd be in tears by now. Goodness gracious. I'm not even that rough compared to
Oh no, not at
a
all.
lot of the pros that have torn some of my stuff apart over the years.
No, I put
When
myself
you're
on-
in line at a show and you're like, oh Lord, the person in front of you, it's just, how do you go on with the rest of your day?
Right.
But kudos though to Stato here for showing some of this, and I think honestly he's probably showing this a little bit more to be like, hey, let's have a topic of conversation on something that I'm already aware of that has its flaws, and let's see if we can kind of learn and spot them together.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's something like that. And I see this all the time with stories where they actually want to tell a certain story, but they go around it in the weirdest ways of having this weird setup, having these other things, having another moment here, and they think it's adding to the character development, but it's constant little like start and stalls. It's like someone trying to drive manual and doesn't get it. You know, they're doing the stick shift and they just don't understand with the clutch and with everything else. And you're just like, okay, maybe we're going no, oh, I don't. And
I think I made the mistake here, as you know, like somebody's starting out, and I see it a lot. The writer or the artist takes advantage of like thinking that people that know what they know in their head is going to come across on the page.
I see that an awful lot. Yeah,
like oh, they're just going to understand that this guy is the bad guy and this guy's the good guy, and that's just going to be that. But
yeah, I see a lot of that. I see a lot of stories that come across like inside jokes, and I'm like, I kind of don't get it because you're not communicating to me what's what, the setting, the character, the transition of time. I'm not seeing a lot of that go through. And if anything, comics for the most part, you should be able to get a good idea of the sense of story through just looking at the visual.
Right.
And then the writing, if anything, enhances the visual. Some people think it's the other way around, that the art is enhancing the writing, but the art it's just, that's the thing you're going to immediately get hit with. So the writing is going to make or break that art. And if it's horrible writing, bad lettering, that kind of a thing, the art could be fantastic, but you're going to be like, all right, art's got to be fantastic. And for me to not want to read it and still read it, at least visually, and there's not too many of those type of artists out there, maybe like 10 in the world right now in comics that could get away with having horrible writing or no writing on the comic, but can tell that story so beautifully visually that you're like, I'm still going to get this anyway. So yeah, so it is difficult, but I think I've seen a lot of your stuff recently, and it's definitely better than that was in terms of storytelling.
Streamlined, at least.
To me, you're honestly, when I think of you, I think of the fact that like you're the master of like 3-panel storytelling.
Oh, geez.
You know, or like a 1-page story.
Right.
That's something that most people, honestly, I think they struggle with, and you do really well with that. So I think if you can keep that mindset in there with the way that you can tell a story in such a small amount of space, if you can keep that mindset to when you have more room to work with, I think you can really make a killer story. But go with that. But anyway, thank you so much for stopping by, Stato.
Hey, thanks, Pete.
That was a great start to the show, and seriously, thank you for being the first guest on here for the first year.
No problem.
And being so gracious with my feedback as well.
No, that was great. Thank you.
No problem at all, man. Take it easy.
Bye now.
All right, that was very good. Very good. Let's see. Seer says, once upon a time, it was a dark and stormy night. Phantasmagorical, hey, what's up? Hope you're doing well. We also we have somebody else here waiting in the wings, and that would be Joe of Abominable Grizzly. What's up, Joe? Are you there, Joe?
Oh, sorry. I was on mute. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Hello. I am Joe of Abominable Grizzly. And I just got some art that we've already previously published.
Oh, very nice.
I'd like to get your insight on it and see how we could do it better, because our goal is always to make the best product we can make. Okay,
sure. Do you have it up right now? I see you're sharing your screen, but I only see the StreamYard.
Oh, sorry. Here we go. Are you able to see this?
Okay, there it is.
And it's kind of an example of what we've published is the lettering, how we break down the panels, the artwork. I mean, whatever insight you have, we'd love to hear it.
So is there anything specific, any kind of doubts that when you look at this, you're like, I wish this was a little different, but I don't really know how?
No, not really. I mean, this is like, this came out of last issues. This is like the best that I can do right now. But we're kind of wondering how we can improve it to make it even better, like to give it.
Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. Let's go panel by panel.
Okay.
because right off the bat with the panels and things like that, I'm seeing a lot of just stagnation, and that could just be a choice within the story, but you can still tell it from different ways. You can still have different angles, zoom in, zoom out, get that emotion on the face, get a certain look, get a certain angle that plays off certain shadows. A lot of this feels just like these characters are on in the same panel. So right off the bat with that, as far as just the page goes, I would say mix up the camera angles. As far as the art goes, it's tough because it's something with the proportions are a little bit off here and there, in terms of the anatomy. So when you have something like this where it's a character that has a lot of anatomy that's just out there on display, you really want to make sure that you're staying consistent with, and I don't mean anatomy in terms of like, oh, it's not realistic enough. I mean in terms of like, it's not really consistent enough. So there's scenes here where she's got her torso looks more extended than in other scenes, or like her shoulder frame looks a little smaller than in other scenes, or the arms look a little longer than certain panels where it's looking. So if maintain that consistency, that would help. Even the hair as well. You get that first panel with the hair, it's a little kind of thinner, not as wild as it is on the fourth panel, where she's got a little bit more of a fuller head of hair going with more of a style.
I see.
So let me see here. It's hard to tell with the way that it's pixelating out with the dot matrixing on the, at least for me anyway. Do you have like kind of a half tone on the art? Is that why?
Yeah, we do. I got the dot matrix halftone also with shades. It's kind of mixed.
Okay. Can you zoom in close enough so we can just isolate panel by panel?
About this big?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right.
Just so I could not get because the art was getting kind of fuzzied out from the half toning. So scroll up to the top. Okay, so it's a little bit of an awkward pose with her in the chair like that, with how she'd be seated kind of further from it, but then it looks like she's kind of in it on the second panel. I think you could zoom in a little bit so it's just kind of like her chest up, maybe a little bit of like the midriff area, and have a little bit towards the top. This way you get a tighter panel, and doesn't necessarily need to be like this, like square, and then rectangle at the bottom. And then just visually that helps break it up and make it a bit more interesting. The lettering is okay. It could also be broken up a bit better as well. With lettering, I prefer to break up sentence by sentence. So like the bear, and that would be its own balloon, and then he has a name, its own balloon. Why won't you just call him a boy? And then you could do that type of thing, or a bow. I think that says Abo. So so you would have that kind of a breakup, and then that also is just more fun to read as a reader because it helps you to direct the reader from panel to panel, as opposed to like lettering, balloon, and meanwhile you've got multiple sentences within a balloon. So it's all that kind of little stuff that helps to break up things visually and also direct the eye of the reader. And this is all kind of like subconscious stuff. As you read comics, you don't really pay attention too much to it, but that's why a lot of that stuff is laid out the way it is. So this one on the second panel, the balloon definitely, you got a lot of space, negative space over there, where that balloon should kind of be hovering more in the middle between the two of them, not so much close to her, to break up that kind of spacing, and also then keep the reader's eye down. So you would go down when you read that panel from her talking, reading the balloon, as she looks at where the balloon's directed, and then you're looking down at where that character is, and then that character then visually leads you down to the next set of panels. So it's just kind of like stuff like that.
All right, that's awesome, man. That's great.
But there's a lot of great stuff here. I love the inking that you have going on. I do dig that half toning too. on the backgrounds look pretty solid. Can you scroll down?
Yes.
Want to see the next set. So this character here, who is that? Because they're not on the first two panels whatsoever.
Oh, sorry. This is another character, Nafara. She's introduced in the page before. I just didn't put the other ones. There's
okay. All right.
Stuff in the other one, but
So
I kind of wanted to show you because this is what I have trouble with. I struggle with when they're just speaking.
Okay.
And then when it comes to action, I think I do pretty well with that. But when it's just conversations, I have trouble.
So is there a scene transition here? What page was it on where the scene was introduced?
It was 2 pages previous.
Okay.
So the book actually begins with them speaking they're like in a shuttlecraft.
Okay.
So
is there like an establishing shot that shows where they are and
it shows them in the sky in a little shuttle flying, and then you go inside with the shuttle where they're speaking.
Okay.
I would bring it up, but I didn't censor that one. There's some shots that I try to censor it for your show.
Is it nudity or is it language?
It's risque art. It's not nudity, but it's risque art. So
okay. Well, if there's not nudity or strong languages, that's fine. But you could show it if it's not nudity. I don't think we'd get a strike or anything for that. Yeah, I think that's more about thumbnails and things.
Oh, I get you. Well, I don't have it where I can bring it up. I only brought these certain pages from this sequence on.
All right, and then again with that balloon in panel 4, with the way the lettering is laid out, there'd be a better way to make sure that is more of a go in line with the balloon. But yeah, there's a tendency with a lot of people when they do the lettering to have the lettering hug corners or hug the wall all the time, no matter what, even if there's a lot of negative space on the panel. You want to try to get that negative space almost like equidistant in a way within the panel. So it's equal to, at least when you eyeball it, to the different panel walls. On this one, on the panel 4, you can move that balloon down a bit, probably break it up into 2 balloons, and then you can have that bottom balloon a little bit more. And it's okay if it overlaps a little bit on her hand or anything like that. Okay. But like when it starts hugging or even touching, which is even worse, when it just starts touching that side wall without actually breaking the wall and having maybe a white border that looks as if it's breaking in part of the paneling itself, it starts to be a little bit visually awkward. So the last panel here, there's more of like a close-up. Is there a visual on like a monitor? Is that what it is on the background?
It's supposed to be glass from the shuttle and her reflections on the glass.
Okay. All right.
That's what I was attempting to go for in this scene right here.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily that would add anything to it. I know you're trying to show that like the balloon from her is coming, but you could just put like an inset panel of her face speaking and do that in a more succinct way, and then you would get the visual of what she's saying, that she's saying it, as opposed to like doing this whole like it's a reflection now on the glass, and even though the sound is coming from her, it's not coming from her reflection on the glass, so it would be coming from her elsewhere. So it kind of turns it into like, oh, is there like a character outside? Is there, like what's going on? Like, so visually it kind of,
that makes more sense.
Yeah, it kind of creates like an awkwardness. Don't give yourself more work. I see artists do that all the time. They're trying to be very clever about, okay, how do I tell this in a different way? But sometimes the easiest and best way to tell it is just the most straightforward. So you could just have an inset panel of where she is, and then just have her with her balloon coming out of that panel, and then have another shot of this character reacting, however, to whatever is being said. You have another page?
Okay. Yes. Let me see if I can go to it here.
And then we have somebody waiting, and we're going to get to you in just a second, but we'll see this one page before we go.
Oh, you know what? I don't even know how to do that. I don't know what I've done.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I hope that there's a lot of stuff that you got out of that. Again, I think you got some good inking going. As far as the composition, that's the main concern. The proportion stuff is like nitpicky. That's like if you really want me to start splitting hairs It wasn't that bad, as bad as I was making it. It's not wildly out of proportion. But I think a lot of those proportion issues would be fixed from mixing up the camera angles, because then they wouldn't be as noticeable. So if you're looking at a character, you're doing a zoom in shot and then a far away shot, and then like there's a shot where they're over here, or there's a moodier shot with the lighting. You're gonna not need to worry so much about like consistency from panel to panel and making sure that arm is still perfect to the previous arm, or the way that looked with the torso is still the same as the other previous panel. You can have fun with it more, and then the reader will have more fun with it too. It creates a more dynamic page, so you can still do and people talk about dynamics usually in terms of action shots, but you can do these action shots even when you're talking and having these talking heads. You don't have to literally just have like, here's the person and it's these like frozen panels. You can still create a lot of this emotion and drama by mixing up the camera angle. So hopefully that helps and helps you to create a more visually interesting story.
No, that's great. I appreciate it, man. That's great feedback. That helps me a lot, actually.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thank you, Pete.
All right, well, thank you so much, buddy. Take it easy. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks a lot.
All right, very good. You guys, I love the attitude with a lot of these creators. Very good stuff. There's been people over the years, I've said things just the most innocent things, and I'll get some very mad people back at me. So I really appreciate Stato and Joe of Abominable Grizzly having such a terrific attitude. Now we're going to go on to our next guest, and that would be Robert Livingston. What's up, Robert?
Oh, hey there.
Hey.
It's all coming through just fine?
Absolutely. What do you got for us?
Okay, I'm actually here to get a little bit of advice on a Kickstarter I was planning, which is, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. It's better for me to just say crowdfunder in general.
Okay.
And it's for this upcoming comic I have called Bite, and thankfully I've already preloaded the pages. So let me just share the screen here. All right,
sure.
Where am I go? Share screen.
It looks like Shane O'Sullivan, you had a question about anthologies, and looks like the chat took care of that. Thank you.
Let's see. Making sure it's all. Do I need to share it? I don't need to share the system audio, but okay. There we go. All right. There it is. All right. Is it coming up? All right.
Yep.
Oh, good. All right. Now, this is actually a comic. All right. One thing is that I'm a writer. I work with a team. Currently, the team on this project is the artist Roger Bonnet Martinez, but he's only here for the first issue. There's another artist who's taking up for the rest of the comic, and that's Juan Pablo Massa, letterist Christian Dokomansky, and colorist Esther Pimento. And this comic has gone through a lot of different ideas in terms of how I was getting it out there, because I've always been more of a guy that prefers to get people the most they can for a comic. Like, if I release something to people, because I've got ongoing webcomic. I've always loved just giving people great material to read and look at, even if it's just at the expense of me, it's just coming out of my own pocket. Because what had happened most with it was that when I first started doing this comic here, Bite, it also, just to get into what it's about, it's basically about these shark soldiers, well, more like shark villains, who were created by a corporation called Dread, and they were basically shoved into a life of violence. Afterwards, they get out of this life of violence. But the events of after they moved on in their life, all these other factors, pretty much the past is starting to catch back up with them. And the comics events itself are them being forcibly inducted back into the organization that they want to get out of. It's, I would say, easily the best way to describe it is that it's a crossover between G.I. Joe and Street Sharks. Best way to describe it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was picking up on too.
Yeah. Now, when I first started doing this comic, my first plan was that I was going to do issue 1 for free. I was going to do issue 1 with my team, and we would have released it for free. in order to get people more hyped up to fund like a
You'd release
full on.
the whole issue for free?
No, well, I mean, that was like the first idea, because you gotta remember when I first started, because the first idea was that I was gonna do like, give them a taste, and then that will get them more hyped up that will possibly get them more hyped up to like want to support a full, like the rest of the book in like a full on crowdfunding campaign. But that changed over time. That changed around, I would say 2019-ish, like late 2019-ish, when I started changing the idea to more get it to actually do a crowdfunder for the first issue. Sorry. Now, granted, pretty much almost everything on the book except the colors is done right now. These are some of the pages actually from the first issue right here. If I could just get this working. Apparently the whole directional pushing isn't working right now, so I'm gonna have to go into the regular
technology.
Yep, technology. Yeah, you can see like all these pages are here. And the only can't show that page. I just remembered what's in that page. Can't show that one. Now, what I was mostly going to be going for with this book is I was thinking at one point that when we do the crowdfunder, we were going to do it when these pages weren't colored yet, but was going to have coloring as the first stretch goal. But to be honest, I could fund the coloring of the book myself. The only thing is that it would push it back by like a few more months. That's what I was mostly thinking. And also, actually, I could show you what the book looks like with coloring from the colorist, because we did do a issue 0, which is out for free. There is an issue 0 that you can read for free.
Robert, before you go further.
Sorry.
What are you looking on for advice or feedback?
I'm rambling.
It's like a big massive
Sorry,
pitch.
I'm rambling here. I'm sorry. I was just thinking, would it be better for me to just do the coloring on the book before we put it to the crowdfunder?
That's tough to say. I mean, honestly, it's always better. The more you can get done, the better it is. But I'm not aware of the budgetary or time constrictions on you and your team. That always matters too, because everyone says, "Oh, I want the whole book done," by the time you crowdfund it. But a lot of people aren't aware like that. That's a lot of the time why they need the money too, is because they can't get the whole book done. They need the money from the crowdfunder to help get the whole book done. I think no matter what, though, you should have a few pages done. If you've got one book, you should have 5 to 8 pages done. And I mean complete. I don't mean just art. I mean completed pages with lettering, writing, all that stuff to show. This way, there's none of this like bait and switch stuff of like, oh, wow, look at this gorgeous black and white art. And then all of a sudden, the coloring looks horrible on the final product, and the lettering is atrocious. And the backer goes, "Oh my lord, I should have just waited, or I shouldn't have backed at all." So you want to make sure you show all that stuff. But as far as having like all the coloring done and things like that, I don't think you need to have the whole book colored. But
just more the first 5 pages.
If you wanna have the whole book colored and you can afford to do so, and you're confident. I mean, how much would the goal be?
Right now the goal we were setting it at, I wrote it down here somewhere, but it's probably gonna take me a minute. It's probably gonna be set at like 1.6K, like 1,600, as I believe what we were aiming at. We aren't going like high tier. We aren't really going high with the goal.
Okay. Are you raising money though for what you need? Would you be putting yourself in a bad position if you raised like 7,000 and then that was it?
To be honest, if it came to just getting the book, getting the book colored, I can afford that myself, but it would just take a few months for me to get through like the payments to do it. So it wouldn't be that much of a hassle. It just like it would put the book back a few months from going on to like crowdfunding. Okay.
But okay, so that doesn't sound like it's too rough of a situation then for you guys. But yeah, I would say you don't need to get the whole book finished. I think that that's an unrealistic scenario that a lot of people who have been burned by people who haven't finished their stuff yet, and it's taken a long time. I think that's become like this knee-jerk reaction of it needs to be finished. I'm not backing it unless it's finished, and that's their prerogative. They cannot back it until the book is completely finished if they want, and hopefully you have extra copies to sell it elsewhere. But as far as for most people, from what I've seen in chat, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think most people like to see like 5 to 8 pages. I think that's really good. I think most campaigns that I've seen, they don't have 100% completed work, which I'm not a fan of. I like seeing the lettering on there. I like seeing what the writing is going to look like.
Well, yeah, because to be honest, the book is entirely lettered in black and white right now. Like all the lettering is already in. So people could get like, if people wanted to see like a little halfway preview, that could easily be done. It's literally the only thing that needs to come in is coloring, and that's it.
Yeah, so that seems like you guys are fine then to get like 5 to 8 preview pages. I don't think that you need to color the whole book, but again, you can color the whole book if you want. Mm-hmm. The problem though too with crowdfunding with people that are like finish the whole book and then put it on there is because most of the time, especially unless you're a pro and you've been doing this for a while, if you're relatively new to it, to making comics, not just to crowdfunding, you can get invaluable feedback from backers as long as you put yourself out there that you're open to it. That, you know, what do you think of the art? Do you guys like the coloring? Do you guys like, especially when you're very new to it and you know there's not really much that's set in stone and you're trying to kind of figure out what is it that people like, what is it that you even really like in terms of your own work. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have something completely finished, but you do have some stuff finished, of course, because you do need some of it finished, you can get that feedback from backers and then estimate, okay, most people seem to really dig the colors. Most people seem to really like this art. But if you get a lot of people kind of giving you this feedback and it correlates with people not backing your book and they're going, you know, I don't know, I'm not feeling that coloring, not feeling that letterer, you know, that enables you to make a more educated decision on how you operate on the rest of this book, as opposed to you get it all done, everything's finished, and now no one wants it.
Yeah, I see your point.
So when it comes to crowdfunding, don't always view it as it's just an instantaneous pre-order campaign, especially when you've done it, you know, not many times before, or maybe this is your first book or something like that. You could really put yourself in a bad position. And if anything, it's I think it would be incredibly engaging for someone who just starts doing this stuff to actually say, look, it's my first time. You know, if you guys dig it, let me know. If you don't, let me know that too. And I want to get all these opinions from you guys about what you're really, you know, not feeling, or maybe you're really liking it.
Well, yeah, because sorry.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, no problem. But in this way, yeah, you can move forward with it and be in a better position to succeed.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, I was going to say is just that this actually is my first time crowdfunding a book. And I've kind of slopped between back and forth if I want this to be my first crowdfunded book, or I want it to be like my other comic project, which does have like a following. I mean, there are people following this comic, but compared to like the other one I do, there's a bigger following for it. And I'm still wondering, should I just go with the one that already has a following, which has a more guarantee that it could get like a first successful and more smooth one, or this one, which would be my first one, but I'll be learning a lot more as I go.
Yeah. I think I think that you're gonna be fine. It doesn't sound like you're going about things the wrong way. I think you're probably overthinking it a little too much in terms of being, you know, more on the safe side.
Yeah, I think that is it. I do try to overplan things a little bit too much.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. It's better to be that way than not. Be the other way where you're just like, here's an image I scribbled. You know, want to back the campaign?
Yeah.
You know, don't worry, we'll make it look good. You know, it's better to be the way you're being than the other way. But at the same time, you know, cut yourself a little slack. I think that if you have like 20-30% of the book done with enough to show the backers 5 to 8 pages and a completed cover. Don't show like a work in progress cover. Show a completed cover.
Right.
You know, you want to show as much of it is like this is going to be the final product as you possibly can. If you've got stuff that's work in progress and that's all you've got right now, you know, don't think, well, if I specify it, they'll understand. No, that's not going to be good, because you don't know what situation here. Are you like 90% work in progress on this page, or are you, you know, 40% or something, you know? So there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, well, if I just specify it, they'll understand. Don't do that. Put it out there. Make sure that it's finalized. This is what you see is what you get. So if you're presenting this image to me here and you're like, Pete, this is the cover. Okay, good. I know going into it, that's the cover. And I can make a more informed decision on whether or not I'm into this. But if you're like, oh, this is just an image to promote it, the cover's something else, we'll show it, you know, when we go to print. That's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I would. No, I never like doing things like that. If I'm doing a book with somebody, the cover art is gonna be from the same person who's doing the interiors.
Oh, I love that. That's very good. Yeah, we try
Anything
to do that
that's
all the
variant
time with
is all.
Alterna. Yeah.
It's all. I always prefer to be as honest with the readers as I can, because, like I said, I want to give them the biggest value for their dollar.
Yeah, that's great. So, as far as Byte goes, when do you plan on launching this thing?
We've shifted around the dates a few times, because originally the pre-launch campaign is up, but an official launch as of yet, we've pushed it back a few times. So we're looking at, I can't even say right now when it is going to be the official launch.
Okay. If you don't want to provide even like a ballpark, like a seasonal thing, like, oh, maybe like around the winter.
I would say possibly around end of summer, most likely.
Okay.
Either around end of summer or midsummer,
fall.
depending. Yeah, what happens, depending what happens in the next few months.
All right. Just trying to make sure people get hyped for this, because I saw a couple people in the chat that are kind of digging just even the concept and the art that you have right here.
I can't wait to read the comments.
But they're all good. No, this is a great chat. But so thank you so much, Robert, for coming on the show and talking about this. And this is going to be, I saw Abominable Grizzlies asked if this was going to be a weekly show. This is going to be a weekly show now. It's going to be on Thursdays. So every Thursday at 1, this is going to be a weekly show. And Comic Book Radio is going to be on Tuesday, Open Mic Wednesday, of course. The name's already there. And then on the Alterna channel, Fan Friday, we have a draw stream on Saturday, and all that good stuff. And then in between, stuff dispersed here and there. But so if you want to come back, every single week to pick my brain about something, this is the place to do it. So thank you so much, Robert. Really appreciate you stopping by, and keep up the good work. I don't have much to critique about that piece of art you saw that you showed all of us too. So keep it up.
Well, maybe next time. You have a good day, Pete.
You too. Take it easy.
Take it easy.
All right. Let's see. We got one last guest here. The show's going to be done in about maybe 7-8 minutes or so, and let's get to them. We got Allison McClone. What's up, Allison?
Hey, I'm in recovery, so you got to be nice to me.
Ooh, oh boy. Okay. You're doing okay, though?
I am. I'm doing good.
Okay. Very good.
Figured I'd show this off and just show where I'm at with it. Haven't been able to work as much on as I want to because of other things, but just kind of get your feels on stuff.
Okay.
What you're liking, what you might not be liking, stuff like that. So it's my cover concept.
Sure. Hold on 1 second. I got the monitor usually kind of dark because of my eyes being so sensitive to this.
Yeah.
let me brighten it up a little bit, make sure that I'm seeing things correctly.
No worries. Take your time.
All right, there it is. Okay. All right. So it's still just as dark. Dark. I didn't want to critique the logo without actually seeing it as bright as it should be. So a girl and
her shadow.
That's fine. I love that.
Okay.
I think you could just leave her shadow though, the rest of the same color, or a different color, maybe like a red or something like that, if you want it to be distinct from the top title.
Okay, so brighten that up a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I would say some people might say, well, put an outline around like her shadow, like a white outline, but then it gets clunky.
Yeah, I have a red outline around it right now, so.
Yeah. So, change it, brighten it up a bit, and then that'll make that logo stand out. And I would also say move the image of the cover down a bit and then you can do something with the cape and the hair that goes over the logo.
Okay.
So then you can have something where it's just a little bit over the logo, because the first issue, so you don't want to block the title entirely, but
Right.
just like a snippet of it to make it feel like it's more in front. Don't have the logo on top of the character like that. But yeah, you can lower the character a bit, maybe have the hands kind of where like your name is,
Yeah, that's what you're
and
saying.
then you can shift like and just put Allison McClone. Don't need to put by, just
Okay.
put Allison McClone, and then put that maybe to the right or the left, depending on how that looks okay to you, and just Allison and then McClone, so 1 and 1.
So stack it.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds good. That's why I like feedback. Let's see, my first page, which is
Yeah, even this, Anthony, that's a good critique too. Says could make her shadow the golden color, and a girl and like an off-white or something like
That'd be
that,
kinda
that matches and brings in the color from the cover too.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to play with that. So, I mean, I color everything with gradient maps. I just have to go in and change the map.
Oh, good. Yeah. And then for everybody too that's watching, if you're a comic creator, every time you have a logo, make sure you're bringing in colors that either complement what's on the cover, or you're dragging in colors that are literally like do a color picker almost, and see what colors match up, so you can get that in the logo too. So it doesn't feel so disjointed. Not that yours felt disjointed. The only thing that was about it was getting lost with her shadow part.
Yeah, I have it on here just because I put it there as a placeholder for thoughts. So
Okay.
probably going to do like a title of the issue or something there, but I just stuck that in there as something just to have as a placeholder. I still have to texture the back of this narration box because I textured all of them going forward, and I added this later. And then I did it picks up pretty much where my issue of the Manifested would have ended, because I found that drawing a team book is a pain in the ass. So drawing 2 characters, much easier. And I'm rolling the events of that, and it'll explain everything as it kind of goes to lead into
good.
what happens. So you don't need the first issue is kind of my prototype. That's the best way I can describe it. But I figure if I started off with like an event, that could be kind of fun, like in the middle of something.
So with this shot here, and I don't know if you heard, but the timer did go off, so we'll do it in an extra 5 minutes or so. Don't worry about it. But so with this shot here, is there going to be something on the bottom left that this character is kind of tilting towards, or is it just going to be this character in the scene?
I'm debating on adding a bit more to it because I feel like I can do more, but I just haven't decided.
Okay.
My initial layout had him a little bit bigger in it, but I wanted to kind of push my background that they're like on a forest trail, so I heightened that up and
Okay.
change some things around. I'm still playing with it. This is all work in progress stuff, so
No,
And
the
hence why I wanted your
background's
opinion.
nice. Yeah,
Thank
so if it's just going to be that character, I'd say kind of straighten him out a bit. So it's a little bit more of a imposing, kind of fills up the panel a bit better pose.
Okay.
Not necessarily make him bigger, but more just so we understand we're dead on with the character.
Yeah.
If you're going to have something in the bottom left, then it's perfect positioning. You can kind of just leave it alone and just have him interacting with whatever that character would be in the bottom left, even if it's a kitty cat.
Yeah.
So you can have whatever that's down there, as long as there's something because that's wherever you see the head tilted or whatever, that's where the reader subconsciously is going to start looking towards. They're going to start following. Well, there's the viewer is looking down
Yeah, that's
there.
where the eyes are going and stuff.
Yeah. So but yeah, it looks good so far. Other than that, I'd say there's a couple of issues that you could maybe do to make it have more of a sense of confidence in the. I'm guessing he's flying, right? Floating.
He is floating. He basically has come down into the area. and
Yeah, you could have
he's
more
also-
of a different pose that would suggest more of a sense of confidence in the floating position
he's
here.
also new at his job, so
Okay, because this looks a little bit like not quite sure. Should I land? It kind of has that feel to it with the way the legs are positioned.
I can definitely change that.
Um,
I agree with that.
So yeah, if you had the leg that's his left leg, the leg that's on the right side for us, if that was a little bit more of like in an upward position with the knee bent and this way, and then just a little bit of the foot coming from behind, then you can actually have that kind of more of a confidence to the landing going on. Oh. Are you muted, Allison? I can't hear you.
Sorry, I muted when a bunch of emergency vehicles went by.
Oh, okay. All right.
I live next to a hospital.
Oh, wow.
That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Okay, so this is where I'm setting up the action scene of who he's basically talking to. And kind of getting things going.
Okay. So with this one, I would say for the first panel, flip that. Make it so that the eyes and the face are going the
Other
other
way?
way. Unless is this reading differently? Is this like reading like a manga or anything like that? I don't
I
think
can
it
flip
is.
it. That's fine.
Okay.
That's easy to do.
Yeah, so just literally, flip it, or it's up to you on the design of the character too. You might have to do a slight redraw,
Mhm.
but have that so the character's face is pointing more towards the right. And then the balloon, of course, would be on the right side too. Unless you left the space there. Then you don't have to.
No,
It's all these 100 little things.
yeah, flipping that's not a big deal. I can have him looking at it, and have him kind of getting ready to go into it. So yeah,
So I like that position on technically, I guess, the fourth panel on the right side, the top right.
Mhm.
I like that pose. That's a very nice pose with the upward pose and coming down. That's great.
this
that
is
looks
more
really
what I
nice.
think I was trying to do with the first one. Didn't quite get it. So
Yeah, no, that's great. If you can get that kind of pose with that kind of foreshortening, that slight foreshortening onto the first page, that would be a really strong positioning and a strong first page.
I definitely can do that.
Yeah.
Foreshortening is definitely a thing that I do. So
No, that looks solid. And then the rest of it looks really good too. So it's just like all the subtle little things of just making sure you're directing the eye and the flow of the page. What's the next page look like?
okay, the next page is this is basically now it's a few weeks later, and they've separated.
Nice. Well, I like that. The house is the establishing shot. That's nice.
And I'm going to be adding more people into the lower panel down here. I just haven't done it yet. So
Okay. My only suggestion would be maybe think about every shot is kind of a step back. It's kind of further away.
maybe bring it closer.
Think about the last panel there, having it more about a tighter shot
Okay.
on that setup. Like really zoom in to the three people that are over there that are having this conversation, and have it more about that, just to keep that mix of
Yeah.
camera angles.
That makes sense. Okay. And I have a page I know it's going to happen on the page. I haven't laid it out yet. But yeah, what is it? Then I get down to the fun stuff where I'm going to get the fight scene going.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's good with the arm coming out. It's a good mix-up of the camera angle. It's good stuff.
And this is all going to be silhouetted down here where she's basically kicking the crap out of everybody.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's a good way to. And these are like they visually make things more interesting, but they're good little cheats too as an artist. Instead of like drawing all the tiny little, these nice impact moments, and they're all flying around, and arms and legs everywhere, but it's all silhouetted.
Yep.
So it makes it easier for you, but also visually interesting too in the panel.
Yeah, so every place where there's an impact, I'm gonna have like a body kind of there or something there to draw like a shadow of a silhouette or something.
Good.
As she's bouncing around. And one of the things I kind of wanted to point out that is happening when you have the first page, he's got this cape on here, and this is her right here. And now she has the same cape on.
Oh, okay.
She took it from us. So that will come out that as of doing it, that she's wearing basically his cloak / cape.
Okay. Back a bit to the first page with the lettering. The same kind of advice, because I was thinking about that, I didn't get it to say it before. The same advice that I gave to Abominable Grizzly there. Break up each sentence.
Okay.
And make that its own balloon. and then this way it breaks up like larger chunks of text, and then the same thing goes with captions. Break up those larger chunks of text, and then you can kind of have these negative spaces on the page get a little bit easier to handle. But other than that, it's not too bad. But definitely the flow of it. Don't have them sharing. Have like that hierarchy with where you're supposed to go, and have it like lead you down. Whereas right now it's like kind of fighting on the eye line at the top.
Sounds good.
But those are easy, quick fixes. But
my cats are annoyed at me because I abandoned them for a few days while I was in the hospital. So.
Well, good news then for them, because we're gonna end the show really, really soon, and you can go be with your kitty cats. I know how.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw something at them.
We can't leave Lovey alone for 5 hours. All of a sudden, she's just waiting at the door, and then we see her. She's like, "Where you been?"
I like that idea of doing a single sentence. And I was listening to the others. I'm like, that's a really good idea. I should do that. So
yeah, it breaks up the flow of it, and it helps you visually space out how you want to have these things, and it also prevents most writers, and not all of them, but most of them, from getting a little too rambly within like a big word balloon. Because if you start dicing them up sentence by sentence, all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I'm filling up that whole page. I shouldn't really do that. So then you start editing and you're forcing yourself to go, okay, I'll leave that out. That's important. Exactly.
Yep. Oh, but yeah, no, I appreciate it as always, Peter. I'm looking forward for you to be on our show.
Yeah, absolutely. When is that? Is that April?
Next week.
Next week. 7th? Yeah.
Yeah, gonna be on with me and Peter Palmiotti. I don't know how I'm gonna tell you two apart.
Oh goodness, what time is that? Is that 1?
Yeah, I think it's 1 o'clock.
Okay, so I'll do this show then at night. I'll do the show at like 8-9 o'clock. And I'll switch that around.
It might have been noon.
So
but yeah, it was. We run about an hour, so.
Okay.
But
fantastic.
Yeah, no, that'll be good.
Well, thank you, Allison, for stopping by, and I hope you have a speedy and full recovery.
Thank you very much.
We'll give your cats a hug from me.
Yep. Yeah. Something. No pain in the ass. All right.
They mean well. They mean well.
Oh, they do. They're cute, cuddly little pains in the ass.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much, Allison. Take it easy.
Thank you. You have a good one.
Bye. All right. So that's it for us. Thank you guys so much for joining today. The Lost, thank you. Says, hello, Peter. Glad to see you doing good. I'm doing great. Busy, but doing great. I'm trying to maintain more of a consistency of schedule with this stuff too, in terms of YouTubing is concerned. Because I just think why not? It's important. I like doing it when I can do it. But once we get books in here, which should probably be about like 2 weeks or so, I give 100% of my dedication and time to fulfillment on that level because the backers deserve it. I've tried. I can't bring myself to do streams and, do an hour or two or here or there or whatever it is. But I'm like, I could use that to get like 5 or 6 packages out. I'm just going to do that. So I'll disappear for a little bit for a couple of weeks once the books get in here, but then I'll be back again. And we'll be ready and raring to go. We got King Cryptid, of course. You guys can sign up for that. King Cryptid is my book, and I'm going to be talking more about that soon. But so there is the link for King Cryptid. You guys can go sign up for that campaign. We got about 364 or 65, something like that, sign-ups. Thank you guys so very much. I cannot wait to get that book out. But thank you guys once again for joining us today. Everybody that was on the show, fantastic. Every single feedback form has always been great. The creators on here, it's a conversation. I love the fact that it's a conversation. You guys are picking my brain, but I'm also picking your brain. And I'm asking you, well, what is it about this that you would want to change? Because I don't want to, if you really love it, and you're 100% happy with it, me, anybody else, whatever, it doesn't matter. Go with it. But if there's things where you're like, I don't know, I could change that. I think there's something about this, but I can't quite put my finger on it. I'll do my best to help you out. So thank you guys so much. And this will be a weekly show. See you guys every Thursday, either 1 o'clock or 9 o'clock Eastern time. Kind of the same timing for honestly all my shows. That's when I have a good chunk of time I can dedicate. That's when it works out. But everybody, take it easy. And I will see you tomorrow. Actually, no, wait, tonight. Tonight, Wes Loker is going to be on the Alterna Comics channel. talking about Unit 44 for a little bit. So hope to see you guys then. That's going to be at 9 Eastern. And he'll be on there talking about the new series that they're doing and all the different stories to come. So thank you guys so much. And I'll see you hopefully tonight, 9 o'clock with Wes. Everybody, thank you again. And have a wonderful day until we see each other tonight or tomorrow. Take it easy.